The Creepy Side of NEPA. Northeastern and central Pennsylvania's supernatural stories and paranormal places. Wherever you find podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Creepy Side of NEPA. I am Dan Kosloski. Thank you for joining us on our second episode you're able to watch here on the free WNEP app and also on our YouTube channel. But we didn't forget anyone who is listening on the podcasting apps, how we all got started here on the Creepy Side of NEPA. Tonight, we have an interesting episode in store for you. We're going to explore the Williamsport area, which we haven't had many stories yet in this series. Tonight, we have an historian, Elaine Decker, joining us. She's an historian of the area, but an interest in the paranormal. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. Like I said, we really haven't had much stories of the Williamsport area yet.
There is a lot going on in Williamsport in the paranormal world.
Well, that is a good thing because we're always looking for stories here on the Creepy Side.
Oh, well, you found them. I belong to a group called the Ghost Quest, and we research paranormal buildings and areas, indoor and outdoor. And we actually have a TV show. And okay. Williamsport has definitely delivered, and we're all from the area, from Lycoming County.
And how long are you doing the investigations, I guess I should ask? Because you said you were a historian for quite a while. You must love the history of the area. But how long have you been sort of dabbling with the paranormal?
We're actually on our second season filming. And so that means a little over a year, our group has been investigating together as a group.
And I know you just mentioned you guys have a TV show. How are people able to watch it?
Oh, they're able to watch it on YouTube at The Real Ghost Quest. All one word, The Real Ghost Quest.
Okay. So let's get started. What are some of your favorite investigations in the Williamsport area or places you kind of explored?
In the Williamsport area, I have to say the favorite one that we've done so far is probably down on Rose Street for me, because there's a personal connection there and we got a lot of activity. In fact, we ended up going down a couple of blocks during the investigation, during the television show, because the activity traveled. So because my family is from that area, that was a really special episode. But recently, we just aired an episode in the Cogan Station area that is quickly becoming my favorite, because the family of the deceased have come forward and said, hey, that's my relative. And they're pretty happy and excited that we did the show. And they are meeting other relatives they didn't know they had. And that's the Smith family fire that happened down here in the Cogan Station area. And I think that's great that we got the family involved. And they've actually visited the site since the episode aired. They didn't realize there was a memorial there.
So those two investigations you just mentioned, Mary Street and the Cogan Station area, are they homes that you guys investigated?
The Rose Street investigation was all outside, okay. And both locations were. The Cogan Station one was outside in front of where a house used to be. The house.
So it's a residential area.
Yes, that one is. The Rose Street was a residential area, then the highway came in, and now it's more industrial, and that's where the new ballparks actually were.
Okay.
Or they just started up. The lumber yards, I believe they're called.
So what kind of evidence did you guys find on those investigations?
We found a lot of EVP evidence, electronic voice phenomena, where you can hear people talking. And in the Rose Street one, Adam, my partner on the television show, asked, is there really a headless lumberman here? And you hear clearly, yes. And that didn't come through any equipment. It just happened. And you'll see our reaction on that. Usually I run. I'm the story. I don't deal with this stuff. He's fearless. And we have a cameraman that's also fearless. He goes anywhere. We have a lot of cameramen, but we have one in particular that goes anywhere.
So you go the opposite direction.
I get told. I try to, but they make me come back.
Well, that makes a good video.
Yeah. And we use the SLS camera. We get some things on that. We've seen shadow figures. We've seen doors slam for no reason. I think between all the episodes, we've seen it all, whatever can be seen. Every episode has something. And some of them are packed full of evidence, and others not so much, but there was some evidence there. We don't
Yeah, I
hide
mean,
anything. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there.
I've been doing this show for going on 7 years now, and I've heard of all different stories, from full body apparitions to a shadow scene to a door slamming, voices unexplained. You just never know what the next story is going to say.
Yeah, right. And that's the part that I'm not super comfortable with. But I love doing historical research, and I like doing the TV show. It's fun. And we have a great group. We have I really have to mention them because we have the best team. Adam Wilson is the partner you'll see with me on television. And then we have Paul Thomas, who's been our cameraman since day one. We have Steve Fetter, who's our cameraman and our manager. We have an equipment manager who's also a cameraman. That's John Wilson. And we have a sensitive, that's Linda Wilson. And Adam is a psychic medium. And I'm just there for the history. And then I get scared.
So how do you guys pick your next location? Do people submit stuff to you, or do you
They do.
sort of scope around into the history and trying to find a spot that way?
All of that. Yep. We've
that,
done it
okay.
all. The Rose Street was my own personal history, my own personal experiences. Adam, we're going to be doing one that is Adam's own personal experiences. And then we've had people tell us that their place is haunted. Please come do it. Through my history, and I research properties and the history of the properties, a lot of those homeowners have come up to me saying, can you research for ghosts? I didn't know you did that too. So, and we don't charge for that at all. We do all of these investigations free of charge. We're very grateful for the homeowners that let us in. And we're very, very kind to their ghosts. A lot of times they really like their ghosts. They want them there. And so we make sure that we leave it as we found it.
Yeah, ghosts kind of add to the character of the property.
They do, and they get to be friends with the people who live there. And so we don't want to mess that up. They just would like to know sometimes why they're there, what their name is, if they have anything to tell, and sometimes we can help them with that.
So when you're doing your research, what is one of the more interesting paranormal sort of tied stories you found with the history of Williamsport?
Oh my goodness, there's always so much history. I think probably the Herdick House restaurant was one of the more interesting ones. I knew the history that was Peter Herdick's house, but when we got there, we found that Peter Herdick wasn't there. His family wasn't there, and they had been experiencing a lot of activity. And
before you go any further, for the people watching at home, who was Peter Herdick?
Oh, Peter Herdick was one of the millionaire lumbermen that helped build Williamsport. He was very influential in everything in Williamsport. He built he donated the land for a ton of churches. He created Millionaires Row. He created the Herdick Hotel, which later became the Park Hotel, the Park Home. That's still there. He was just very, very wealthy and gave a lot to Williamsport.
Okay.
So his house where he lived is now a restaurant, very good restaurant. And we were asked to come in, and we did. And we found that there was an entity there that didn't really belong there. But what we found out very quickly was, through my historical research, that the witness stands for the old courthouse are their hostess stand and their bar. And that's what was haunted. And we got very clear evidence that a man named William Hummel was definitely in the restaurant. The people working there didn't necessarily want him there. He was very aggressive. And so I don't understand a lot of it. We have people who come in and do cleansings. Adam does a cleansing, and it doesn't tell the ghost to go away. It sort of just kind of calms things down, just makes them not so aggressive. And that's what we did. But we weren't expecting that. And we had tons of, it happened that William Hummel was there, and I always knew him as William Hummel, but he corrected us while we were there and told us his name was Bill. And so we called him Bill the rest of the night. But there's also two other people that were there, and these are people that were hanged in Lycoming County Courthouse, the old courthouse, and that they gave testimony, and they were sentenced on these witness stands. And the one woman who was there that was also hanged told us right out she was afraid of Bill Hummel. And so for the other ghost's sake, we tried to calm Bill down a little bit, and I think we did.
That's very interesting that piece of furniture was tied to the trials And that is
Yeah.
where all the haunting sort of took place.
Yeah, it seemed to be that was the reason they were there, is what we could figure, because 3 of them that were hanged were actually there in the restaurant, and they were except for Bill, they weren't being aggressive or nasty, and as far as we know, none of the patrons ever realized they were there. It was after hours when the staff was there by themselves that we were getting. The stories of what they encountered is in that show. It's in our season 1 show, episode 1, I believe. And they talk about what happened and what the employees were going through.
And yeah, like I said, that's interesting because somebody might overlook something like that piece of furniture came from that story and that background, and that's how the ghost or the paranormal has that tie.
Right. And that's why I do full histories on every location before we get there. And I don't tell Adam anything. He goes in blind, and because he wants to go in with a clear mind, and he wants to feel what he feels. And had he known the whole history of the Peter Hurdick house and that Peter Hurdick lived there, that may have influenced him. But he was able to know right away that Peter Hurdick was not there, but something was, because he went in there not knowing anything about the place.
So what was some of your favorite stories along the way? Another one from the Williamsport area.
From the Williamsport area. We didn't do this for the TV show, but the library is one of my favorites. There's a woman there.
And you know what? I always find that weird that every town seems to have a story tied to their library.
Yeah,
you wouldn't think that's one of the most haunted places in town, but it usually ends up being that way.
Yeah. And I, if they're not attached to the place itself, the books are all pretty interesting too. So this one actually had nothing to do with the library. She was in the library, but she was a resident of the house they moved to build the library.
Oh, okay. So that same piece of land.
Yeah, right. And I didn't do that as a paranormal investigator. I did it as the history. I found out she had died there. And it was weird because the employees kept saying she is only in a certain part of the library. She's only in the entrance, the original entrance, and like half of the rotunda. That's exactly where the house was. She doesn't go beyond where the house was. And they knew it was a woman. They'd seen a woman in Victorian dress, and her name was Diantha Brown. And so that was long before I got involved with paranormal. They just called me as a historian. Can you figure out why there's a woman in our foyer? And so that's what I had found out. And that was quite interesting. The Tabor Museum. We have a ton of shorts on our YouTube channel about the Tabor Museum. The shorts are usually less than 10 or 15 minutes long. The shows are about an hour. And the Tabor Museum, especially the carriage house, has been very active for us.
And what was the Tabor Museum before it was a museum, or is it always just the museum?
No, it was the Roman Way House, and before that it was the Maynard Farm. That burnt down, and they built the actual building they're in now. But the carriage house did not burn down. And so that's the original carriage house that went with the house, and that's what we found was haunted. Of course, Nellie's portrait in the museum is very haunted. That's their most famous ghost story, is Nellie's portrait. And people go in there just to see that. And they have the story there about why that little is a portrait of a little girl. She died while she was being painted, and she haunts the portrait, and that's in the Victorian room in the museum.
While she died, actually, while the painting process was being done?
Right. Her father put her on a stool to paint her, and she fell off the stool. She was only 2 years old. And since then, the picture keeps falling. So, and it fell so many times after he painted it, and this was in the 1800s.
Right.
He put it up in the attic because it just kept falling off of his wall. When he died and the family went to sell the house, they donated it to the museum. It fell off the museum. The first night it was there, actually, a car went through the front door and knocked it off of the wall. And then they put it in the back of the museum, and it kept falling off. They'd find it the next morning on the sofa. So, yeah, that's their famous one. The most famous.
Curious, is the painting hanging now, do you know of, or did it have it leaning against the wall?
It's there, and it's bolted.
Oh, it's bolted right to the wall.
It can't come off. They had to take drastic measures. But it's still there. People go in to look at it. It's still in the Victorian room.
That's interesting. I never heard that story before. A lot of times you hear bits and pieces from different stories throughout the area, and that's a pretty interesting one.
Yeah. And then we have a lot of clips of the carriage house and things that happened to us there, shadow figures, all kinds of things we caught on film. So
What is the carriage house being used for now?
that is storage.
Okay.
Makes it even creepier.
Yeah. I'm sure it's
And
still
then
looks
below it
old on
is
the
the
inside
top
then, 'cause
part that's, pardon me?
if they're not worried about the public being in there, I'm sure it's still old in the inside and gives you that creepy feeling.
It is and this is the upstairs of the carriage house. I
Okay.
may have misspoke when I said the whole carriage house. The upstairs of the carriage house was the part that was haunted. That was the part that's storage. That's the part that is original. It looks like a carriage house. The downstairs is the historical research library, and that is owned by the Lycoming County Genealogical Society. As far as I know, that's not haunted. It's not creepy. It's modern, and all of that.
Right.
But it is the upstairs that is something else.
Where all the action takes place.
Exactly. And that is off limits to the public. So yeah, when we went up there, I think it was the first time in a while that they had somebody talking to them, and we caught on tape an entire conversation about us. And it's back and forth, and it's very clear, and it's on YouTube on the shorts. I think it's called Hit Paul, because that's what started it. I said, hey, if you're here, hit Paul. And two entities were talking to each other like we weren't even there, and we didn't hear a thing at the time. I can promise you we haven't, because I would have run the other way.
Yeah, you would have ran, or you would have acknowledged it at least that you were there and you heard something.
Right, exactly. And it's pretty clear that they're talking to each other.
So what kind of got you interested in the paranormal after being a historian in that area for so long?
Actually, Otto's bookstore got me interested, because they wanted authors, and I wrote the book Williamsport Past and Present, and they were selling it there, and they wanted authors to come in and talk about any paranormal experiences that they had. And in researching my book, I had not put it in the book, but I had seen a lot and I had heard a lot. So they had a panel, and it was run by another podcast, Eerie Echoes, that is also on YouTube. And
Okay.
Adam and I were guests there, and another person was a guest there. There were three of us there, and they just started asking us questions. And afterwards, Adam and I started talking. He said, I have a ghost group. I need a historian, and I would love to do a television show. And I said, well, I'm a historian. I don't know much about ghosts, but sure, let's give it a shot. And that was the beginning. And it's been incredibly popular and fun and exciting. And now we went from one cameraman and a little camera to professional quality cameras, 3 cameramen, and a whole staff. And it's really fun. It's a lot of fun.
The paranormal definitely is a fun, interesting topic. From my understanding, everyone seems to have a story, even if they don't want to admit it. They have that one thing that happened to them, maybe as a child or growing up, that they just can't explain.
That is true. And sometimes, a couple of times, we've shown at several different bars. Like, we'll do our premiere of when our show comes out, we'll be at a public place. And that's when people say, okay, I didn't want to say anything, but this is what happened at my house. Because they're comfortable. They're in with a group that believes in all of that. And we get the best stories then.
Yep. As soon as you get people talking, they have that, like I said, that one story that they just can't explain. They might not admit it at first, but they have something.
Right. I think everybody has had at least one weird thing happen they can't explain.
I would have to agree with that.
And we're hoping more people come forward and say, you've got to do our house. Please do our house, because we would love to help people understand who is in their house. Between the medium, the equipment, my historical research, we do the most thorough job. And we don't, like I said, we don't charge. And if they don't want to be on TV, that's fine. If they do, most of the people say, please, I want to be on TV. That's awesome. Yeah, put me on TV. So yeah, and they can contact us through our Facebook page, The Real Ghost Quest.
Now, have you noticed more people contacting you at residential homes or like commercial properties, like a business or a restaurant, hotel?
It's about 50-50.
50-50, okay.
Yeah.
And which ones do you have more fun at, you think? The residential cases or?
Any that I don't run away screaming is fun. Yeah, they're all fun. They really are. We have a really good time, and it's all jovial, nothing serious. We don't scream. There's no jump scares. We don't do anything like that. We just have fun and investigate.
Try to find out the story behind it all.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I do have to say that this year we are looking very much forward to getting with the woman who actually did our theme song, Destiny Beard. She did The Haunting Is Over, which is available and out there. And we use it. And she's actually going to go on an investigation with us. And she is so much fun. That is going to be a whole lot of fun. So we just like, she's on tour a lot. And so we have to coordinate the investigation with her, but that's something to look forward to in the future because she drives a hearse. I mean, she's just awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting people in this field, that's for sure.
Yeah, there are. And they're all fun and they're all nice. And some of them aren't alive, but that's okay.
And the one thing that I'm kind of surprised about, and I say this all the time, when I first started, like I said, 7 years ago, I thought I would do a series right around Halloween for October, maybe 6-7 episodes long, and I'd probably have to stop, I was thinking. But once I got started and the amount of stories and people have been contacting me, different areas, I was pretty amazed at the stories that Northeastern and Central Pennsylvania has just on the paranormal topic.
Right. There are a lot of stories, and we just found an untapped area. For any paranormal investigators out there that are watching this, even if you're not doing it as a living or you don't have a show or you just want to be curious, Sullivan County is unbelievable and no one has investigated it. The Sonestown Inn, we actually did 3 episodes there. There was so much. And we Sonestown Inn, he welcomes investigators, and that's very rare. And that usually they don't open their doors to just anybody, but he does. He's come in, investigate, and plus the food is really good. And it is actually an inn. You can stay overnight, so you can really creep yourself out, stay there at 2 a.m. But that we're finding a lot of in this area, in Sullivan County, like Cumming area, it's been ignored, and there is a lot out there. I did a haunted bus tour for the chamber during the last event they had. And
I believe they were the ones that connected us to chamber.
That's right. Yes, they did. Because, and she thought it'd be a good idea since they were approached and they wanted to do a bus tour during that RV event that happened here recently. And she said, well, we probably have a couple of spots. We ended up doing 13 spots on the tour, but I could have easily done over 20. And it was just the idea that I only had 2 hours. So that's how many locations you can just even drive by in Williamsport. And there's a ghost story. And that's what we want to start doing for the Ghost Quest. We want to start doing like on the street stories, like stand outside of a building going, here's what you don't know about this building. Let me tell you.
Yeah, a little ghost walk.
I think it's haunted. Yeah. That's something that we got our production company to agree to, and we're going to start filming that. So yay.
Well, it sounds like you guys are having a fun time out there in Williamsport.
We are. We're having a great time out here. And we're very much looking forward to doing more investigations and sharing them with the public and sharing the history with it, which to me is very important.
I totally agree. Every ghost story has some kind of history behind it.
It does. It does. And I'm so thrilled that we get to share that. We just did one with a car accident that happened in the early 1900s. 7 people died and nobody has heard of it. And it was such a tragedy. And it was so great to put those names out there and remember them. And that's my favorite part.
Yeah. Yep. I would have to agree with you. I'm always interested in the history, but the paranormal on top just makes it all that much more interesting.
It does. It definitely wakes you up.
Well, I'd like to thank you for joining us here this evening. And if anyone would like to watch your show, how do they watch again? They
go on YouTube at The Real Ghost Quest, and they can watch all of the seasons plus the shorts.
Thank you again for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Creepy Side of NEPA. I'd like to remind everybody, if you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, or follow the Creepy Side of NEPA on whichever podcasting platform that you're listening to us on. And also be sure to follow WNEP's Creepy Side of NEPA on Facebook. That is the best way to always be informed on the latest show information. Until next time, enjoy the Creepy Side of NEPA.